to receive the solution even before you're consciously aware of the problem. The dominant vibration is my life sucks. So maybe somehow you find a way to get yourself in the receptive mode and that you shift into that reality, but then what plays out?
When people are waking up inside of the matrix, how can someone recognize that they're awakening within this game that we're playing?
Again, this is not to create fear. This is just a very real scenario that could play out. Yes, dear ones, we would like to call this the casino of consciousness. If you go to a casino, there are many different games being played. Someone's playing blackjack, someone's at poker, someone's playing roulette, and via your soul's decision, you attune to the unique game you want to play, but also the other characters who want to play the same game. And what we're witnessing on the collective level is the 0 point manifesting, which is the new beginning. Here's what creates the timeline or the timeline split. It's simply the decision that you make.
I'd like to welcome back to the show returning champion, Erin Lyons. How you doing, Erin?
I'm doing so well. Thanks for having me, Alex.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on the show. Coming back to the show. It's been a minute since you've been on.
Yes, it's been about 2 years. Yes,
about 2 years, and we threatened to have you come back on. We were threatened, like we're gonna come back, and it was a scheduling issue. And then you had a baby,
Yes.
which is so beautiful, which is the best excuse for not being able to make it work.
Yes.
But now you're settled in. You're everything is good in your life, and the audience 2 years ago loved you, and loved your channelings and what you were bringing in. Can you tell a little bit? For people who didn't see that first conversation, can you tell people kind of a little short mini background of you of when you were on Wall Street and all that stuff, and how you turned into a channel and who you channel and what is your process of channeling?
Sure. So I refer to myself as a universal channeler because I channel source energy, the angelic realm, and various galactic councils. Mainly source energy is the core frequency that comes through, but nonetheless, really tapping into the omnidimensional field of light and pulling through various energies and beings. I did work on Wall Street for about 7+ years as a wealth manager, stockbroker. And it's so funny because people ask me, when you were in that world, were you still hearing source? Were you still working with these energies? And yes, it actually helped me be quite successful in that space. And it just got to a point where they go, hey, you're meant to share everything that we're giving you with the world. You've been initiated in this way in terms of everything that I had to learn in that real world environment. And now you're just ready to shift out of it. And that's exactly what happened. So I've been doing this work publicly since 2021, about 4 years now.
4 years. So you're just starting out, but you're making a heck of an impact.
And it feels like it was just yesterday. I can't even believe it's been 4 years, but I guess I'm still a bit of a rookie channeler.
And I'll be honest with you, 2 years ago when you came on, you were really a rookie channeler. You were just kind of like coming out of the womb, no pun intended, of channeling. But I've been so impressed with how you present yourself, the amazing knowledge that comes through you. You are unique in the space. There's no question about it. And I speak to a lot of channelers on the show, so I have a different perspective than most. But and how do you channel? So what is the process for? Because everyone's a little bit different.
Sure. So for me, I get visions and I might just say, I'm seeing this, or source is showing me this, and also my crown chakra will open up and then source just streams through. So I'm extremely clairaudient. I'm clairvoyant. I see, but then it can just automatically download. So you'll notice when I'm in a stream, if I just abruptly cut that stream and go into the next one, it's because we're just juncturing into the next stream. So sometimes it can be sort of like, jolty, but that's how it works for me.
So let me ask you a general channeling question. So right now, for someone who's listening for the first time and this is their introductions to channeling, why did Source choose you, let's say, and choose you to be a channel, and why is Source need?
Mhm.
I'm being devil's advocate here. I know I have
Yeah,
already the
yeah.
answer in my head because I've gone through this, but I want you to answer it, and I want the audience to really understand it. Why did Source choose you, and why is Source needing to put this
Mm.
information out through channelers like yourself? And they seem to be popping up more and more and more. I mean, it's becoming a lot more acceptable. It's becoming a lot more known. The term
Mhm, mhm.
channeling is in the zeitgeist. You know, you're channeling Michael Jordan, you're channeling Tiger Woods, you're channeling Uncle Bob at the barbecue. Like it's a thing. It's a thing now
Sure, sure.
where it wasn't before. So could you answer that question?
The way Source is wanting to answer this is the heart.
Mhm.
Whoever has in yes, there are some soul contractual things and some work that I'm finishing in this incarnation from other timelines where I've been here to bring forth information and shift the collective consciousness. However, when you are in the when you're anchored in the center of your heart and you have a deep desire for other individuals to access unconditional love, that that attunes you to the vibration of source so you can hold that energy. You can be a vessel for that energy. So source always likes for me to say and make sure that it's known. It's not that I'm more special than anyone else. It's not that any other channeler or spiritual teacher, mentor, or guide is more special, but there is a frequency of devotion. There is a this sort of blueprint that you have to be wired for, where you eat, sleep, breathe consciousness, ascension, love, and light. And so, in my personal experience, when I came into the totality of source, and that's a whole story that I believe I've
Hmm.
told on this platform,
Hmm.
in various ways that's happened to me. But in coming into that, I just knew for the rest of my life, this is what's most important to me is that everyone deserves to know that they are already everything and that they are source and that there's only unconditional love. So that's why it comes through me.
And so you're telling me that Wall Street was not the way.
Well,
Wall Street
actually, that's
wasn't
not
the what?
true.
Yeah. So
No,
yeah,
that's not true.
I threw a softball up for you. Go ahead.
Okay.
Because I knew you were going to say
Yeah.
this. Go for it. Let's see what you
So,
say.
how you want to see creation is that this is all just an experience and an exploration of all that is. Source
Hmm.
isn't saying Wall Street or tech or any other industry is better than the spirituality path in terms of being a teacher. Source actually sees them equally the same. So after my awakening, I go, what should I do? Because I was pursuing a finance degree at the time. So my awakening really kicked off between 2014, 2016. And so, I'm young. I'm unraveling. I'm spiraling. I don't know what to do with myself. I just realize that I'm God and everyone else is God. What am I supposed to do? And Source goes, no, go into the world and just create, manifest, have fun, do whatever you want to do. And I was just obsessed with Wall Street. I was just obsessed with, I think because there wasn't much representation of black women or people of color. And so I was just really fascinated with playing in that space.
Hmm.
And so I manifested my dream career and I went there. So no, there's no hierarchy. It's all just playing. It's all just a vibrational game for spirit.
So I'm assuming you've seen the movie Wall Street.
Of course. Wall Street, of course, of course. Yes.
I could still recite Gordon
Oh,
Gekko's
such a
speech.
classic. Oh, such a classic. And I have to say, they really captured the essence of when you become a broker and you got to get your Series 7 and
Yeah,
learning
yeah.
sales. It's great. It's great.
And it captured the 80s beautifully. 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 So let's dive into what's happening around the world right now. In your view, what's the most significant shift in humanity right now that humanity is undergoing at the moment?
So many channelers have brought through this message of a split, like this timeline split or this split where we really anchor into new earth. And I actually see the split in a different way, which is where you personally activate a frequency within yourself where you split into a really grounded, anchored timeline in 5D. So, what I mean by this is, so 2 years ago when I spoke to you, I was still experiencing a split, meaning not fully anchored in fifth dimensional and above. I still had certain friends. I really felt like I was living in two separate timelines at the same time. Fast
Hmm.
forward, pretty much everyone that I interact with is in this vibration. So there's not this sort of back and forth. There's a true anchoring on the new earth. So what I see is that as consciousness continues to expand, more people are anchoring into the fifth dimensional timeline and beyond. And that is what the split is. The split is that you personally will experience the new earth as your dominant reality. That's what I'm seeing with just clients that I'm working with. And it is the most challenging part when you're still in between. You're still dealing with, some lower vibrational, maybe karmic things playing out. You still have to maybe go into a job that you don't like, but meanwhile, you go home at the end of the day and you're watching Next Level Soul and you're like you're in between realities. So that's what I'm seeing the most at the moment.
It's interesting, and I want to dive into the timeline thing because that's something that's thrown around so often. A lot of people on the show, people who've come on the show, talk about multiple timelines, and you can shift into whatever timeline you want to
Mhm.
be in. And that it's a little bit confusing because when I think of timelines, I think of Marvel, and these kind of like Marvel movies are like, oh, they're Tony Stark is Doctor Doom in this timeline, and blah 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 in this
Right, right.
timeline, that kind of thing. But the timelines, and this is my interpretation. Please let me know what you think. That the timelines you're speaking about is basically when I decided to go down the spiritual path. I agree
Mhm.
with you. Everybody in my life and everyone that comes around me is connected to this idea now, this vibration
Mhm.
that I'm at. Rarely does someone come into my life who's not connected to this kind of world anymore.
Mhm.
We do bump into them, but it's different. And they come in and they leave very, very quickly because they can't
Mhm.
handle being around it. Their mind can't handle things like that. I've lost friends
Yes.
because of the work I've been doing and so on. So I think that at least from my perspective, the timeline shifts are just like your vibrational shift or your frequency
Mhm.
shift. It's
Mhm.
just changing your environment, changing the world that you live in.
Yes.
The world that you are living in is completely different than someone else's vibrational world, and that's technically a timeline. So like you are like I'm a manifester. I'm going this and that. I'm not living in the timeline where I was almost bankrupt when I was a kid. And,
Yeah.
literally after working with a mobster for a year and trying to make a movie and my life threatened all the time. I'm not in that timeline anymore, nor would I attract anybody in that world into this timeline anymore. Does that make sense?
Yes. So two things are happening because this is all a multidimensional experience. We have our personal timeline and then we have the collective timeline. As you shift your personal frequency and alter your personal timeline, you quantum shift into the parallel version of Earth and thus experience the different collective reality. So each of us, what we're actually doing is we're tuning our vibration and we're shifting through infinite frames within existence and variations of Earth. So the Earth that you and I are living on in our personal matrix within the collective matrix is that we're operating with individuals who are vibrating in the same frequency. So we are already experiencing new earth, but simultaneously we could go out to the grocery store and we could interact with someone who's experiencing a different version of earth. So this is what Source is coming in right now and wants to explain. This is what we mean by the omnidimensional field. You guys have been calling it the quantum field. We're calling it the omni field because it's every direction, every timeline, every variation of consciousness being experienced existing side by side simultaneously together. So when I interact with you, even if let's say we weren't in the same consciousness, source is holding both of those frequencies or ideas of what's happening within reality at the same time. It's infinite. Infinite
So,
dimensions are existing side by side.
so is that why when there is, let's say, great, like the Great Depression, I always use that as an example. In the Great Depression, there was a big chunk of the population that was going through very, very difficult times. but there were
Yes,
also people who thrived and built some of the most, the biggest companies in the world during the toughest time ever. So they were obviously they were playing another game. They weren't in another
exactly.
stadium. They were just not
Exactly.
even, they decided to like, okay, I see the collective
Mm.
situation. We acknowledge
Mhm.
the collective situation, but we've decided to go down this path within this collective,
Yes, yes.
storm. So it's essentially like there's a storm outside, but we're going to build a place where the water doesn't hit us and we can go down and, oh, look, there's sunny skies over there while the storm is here. So we're just walking. The earth is still there and there is a storm happening, but we're over on this side and we've decided to go down this road. Is that kind of what it is?
Yes, dear ones, we would like to call this the casino of consciousness. If you go to a casino, there are many different games being played. Someone's playing blackjack, someone's at poker, someone's playing roulette, and via your soul's decision, you attune to the unique game you want to play, but also the other characters who want to play the same game. If you sit at the blackjack table, you have other souls sitting at that table who have vibrationally at a soul level chosen to play that same game. So with what you were talking about, it's some souls in that scenario, in that time period, decided to play the game of lack and scarcity for their own soul's correction, expansion, unfolding. Some souls decided to play the game of abundance. In each of us, in every moment, we have that choice. Do I want to play the game of lack or do I want to play the game of abundance? And Source is going, or a combination of the two.
That's beautiful. Yeah, okay, that makes a tremendous amount of sense to me now. It is a vibrational shift. So even when, the world seems right now, and if you're watching the news, you're definitely on a timeline. Um, it seems like everything, if you watch the news, it seems like the world's coming to an end. And every day. Every day,
Absolutely.
a politician says something here, a politician says something overseas, something happens, the economy, the world, but yet if you are not associating yourself with that information, your perspective on the world could be very hopeful, very uplifting. It all really depends on the frequency that you're on to a certain extent. When the pandemic happened, is one of those few instances that the entire world was shut down.
Hmm. Hmm.
The entire world was affected. So that is the ultimate example of the entire world, collective consciousness. Everybody was going
Yes.
through it.
A
But
point of convergence, I'm hearing.
yeah, exactly. So it was a point of convergence for everybody. But yet, many people walked through the pandemic without getting harmed. Some people
Mm.
thrived through the pandemic, and some people died during the pandemic. So it really was something that everyone got to walk their own path within this collective game, if you will. Does that make sense?
Yes, and some souls even chose to exit the game. They used that as their exit point. So, Source is bringing this concept through to highlight the importance of not relating to the game through a victim frequency. There are
Mhm.
just infinite choices within the game. And here's what creates the timeline or the timeline split. It's simply the decision that you make. As soon as you make a decision, that creates the new timeline.
So every decision you make is creating a new timeline. So that's
Yes.
what. So that is the thing that was really interesting to me, because I've spoken to many mystics and people who've been on the show about the different timelines, and that we as souls get to play out multiple timelines within this life. So in this life, we have potentially millions of different outcomes. So there's a version of you somewhere that stayed in Wall Street. There's a
Yeah.
version of you that didn't get connected to source
Mm,
and didn't
mhm, mhm.
channel. There's one that you married some other dude. Another one that you didn't get married at all. One that you had kids when you didn't, because those are all choices we have. Now,
Yes.
the way I always tell is like it's not catch up or no catch up. That's not going to create a new timeline. It has to be significant choices. So did I move
Mhm,
to New York? Did I didn't move to New York?
mhm.
Um, how do you explain those timelines? Because what we're
Mm,
talking about is a bit different than that. Because
mhm,
we're changing from our perspective, our timeline's changing.
mhm,
But
mhm.
is there a
Yeah.
world or a universe or a timeline where you and I chose lack in this lifetime and we're going down that timeline? We aren't feeling that, but there's a version of us out there that might be in the
Mhm,
multiverse, if you will.
This
Does
is
any of that
good.
make sense? Yeah.
Yes, yes, this is good. So, how Source is explaining this to me is infinite parallel realities exist. However, they can be activated or deactivated because we're not experiencing it. So, and when it's being experienced, it's activated because it requires our consciousness to essentially give it life. So this is actually what the new earth split is as well. So the what's going to happen is more souls are going to choose that they want to experience the new earth frequency. They want to experience the new earth timeline. And so as less souls require the polar experience, which has been fear, lack, war, etc., those timelines just become less energetically activated because there aren't enough souls that are fueling them. So the parallel version of me that chose to maybe stay on Wall Street longer and resist my purpose, yes, it does exist within the frame of existence. However, it's just not activated because I'm not experiencing it.
Okay, so there isn't another version of you walking around somewhere in a parallel reality unless you're focusing on it or your consciousness is energizing it.
Okay, it's the energetic potential. We'll explain it that way.
Okay.
It will always exist as an energetic potentiality. So when it comes to quantum leaping, something that we hear
Hmm.
often in this space,
Hmm.
and people have gotten down this idea that, oh, there are infinite versions of me that exist. Yes, that's true. However, what is your propensity to access this parallel version of yourself? Just because you know that it exists or that it the energetic potential of it exists, it doesn't mean that you're in the frequency or you have become the vessel that can hold that reality. So what will actually happen is if you're not ready to fully hold the parallel version of you that has in whatever that is, you will continue to shift through different frames within existence that just keep attuning until you reach that full embodiment. So practical example that I'm seeing with this right now is, let's say somebody wants to earn a certain amount of money, but they just can't hold the bandwidth of that reality right now. They'll make a little bit more, then a little bit more, then a little bit more, then a little bit more.
That's why people who win the lottery implode most of the time.
They can't hold it. They
And they
found a
literally
way.
can.
They literally can't hold it. They found some way to get themselves in the frequency where they can shift into that alternate frame. This is also soul contractual sources giving me. They can shift into that frame, experience that abundance, but usually it's overwhelming or they haven't cultivated the skills, the habits, the beliefs, the behaviors that would allow them to sustain that abundance. And then they usually attract things that would diminish that financial abundance.
Yes, they do. Yes, they
That
do.
sucks, by the way. That just sounds like a horrible experience
It's
to win
it's
like 100 million or something and like lose it all. That's horrible.
for a documentary series, I interviewed a bunch of lottery winners, and it was
Interesting.
fascinating how fast they were
Mm,
cooking through it, lives destroyed,
mm,
murder. I mean, it was a ton
mm.
of things. It was just so fascinating to watch. And most people who win the lottery, they don't within 5 years, it's gone. Most.
Wow.
It's statistically, it's pretty insane. Very few people can kind of just hold it. One was really fascinating. One of the people I interviewed, I love this guy, older gentleman, worked in a factory all his life, won I think like $9 million in the lottery.
Mm.
He just put it in the bank. He did
Smart.
he did nothing. He kept going to work because he didn't want to lose his pension.
Wow.
That's how
The
disconnected he was,
but
completely disconnected from it. It's a fascinating.
but in that instance, we could also say there's a lack program because you
Mhm.
have abundance, but you are still living within a box of limitations because you can't you have the physical money, but you can't hold the experience of deploying the money or being what I like to call the captain of the money and allocate. You're
Mhm.
afraid to lose the money. So this is brilliant. Source is asking if you have the 9 million but you don't use it,
What-
it's the same as if you didn't have it.
right. If a tree
So
falls,
these are
it'll
the
actually
the
fall.
prisons we can create within our consciousness.
It's so
on different
fascinating.
topics. It's very fascinating, right?
It's super fascinating because he would tell me, he was like, yeah, if my wife walks by a department store window, which is genius. He was an older gentleman, and he's like, if she wants to buy a dress, we buy her the dress, and that was it. Like, my kids will go to college, we don't have to worry about that. But he was just completely disconnected from it and wanted to keep working because he
Mhm.
couldn't. I don't think he could process it. He could
Right.
not. He could not process it, and he was terrified. There's no question he was terrified. Now you give someone 9 million who's had 9 million, or let's say someone has 9 million and you give them another 9 million. Chances are they're going to be able to deal with it if they've been
Hmm.
able to deal with the original 9 comfortably and thriving and helping people and building
Hmm.
things.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's really, really fascinating. With everything that's happening now, Aaron, this perceived reset that humanity is going through, this
Yes.
this kind of giant consciousness shift, a great shift, the big thing that's coming. Um, I talk about that a bunch on the show because it's the number one thing that people are asking about because they're afraid.
Hmm.
They're afraid of what's
Hmm.
happening. They're
Hmm.
afraid of all
Hmm.
this. I think hopefully the conversation we just had helps them a little bit
Right.
with that fear. But why is humanity going through this right now? What is the purpose of this giant shift that is happening? Because a lot of people are like, well, things are going fine the way they are. Why do we have to go through this giant reset?
The collective soul of Earth has chosen a new game, has chosen a new timeline, is ready to co create with each other in a higher way, but also your others, meaning interdimensional beings, galactic beings, other players in the greater cosmic landscape and game. So our Earth game is expanding to include more characters, to include more variations of experiences that we can have, like colonizing a planet, hint, hint,
Hmm.
space travel, uh, different types of technology. So we want to expand to play a higher game. So if anyone's relating to this expansion through the lens of fear, dear ones, we invite you to understand that your soul, as it pertains to experiencing Earth, because you are in multiple places simultaneously, but as it pertains to your experience on Earth, you want to play a bigger game. More love, more fun, more advanced technology, and you want to be relating to it that way. Now, this doesn't mean that there won't be instances of purging and playing out lower density themes for the just for the purpose of fully clearing those karmic cycles, but in your personal timeline, it's always, am I in an energy of receiving or am I in an energy of repelling? If you're receiving, you will receive the abundance, the downloads, the information required for you to experience your highest vibrational reality within the collective reality. If you decide to entertain lack, then you cut yourself off from abundance and you will experience more of the karmic themes. It's all a choice.
So is that why there's an increased global chaos that's happening right now with the economy, with the politics, with the food, with the healthcare system, with media, with all these institutions? Is that why that's increasing so much more and so fast?
It's dismantling. It's it has to be dematerialized. So what we're witnessing is the dematerialization of matrix structures and institutions that have existed for thousands of years. So in the process of that dismantling, it is going to look like chaos, but it is expansion in disguise. The example that's coming through, and we channeled this when it happened with the LA fires.
Hmm.
And what we explained is when you have structures disappearing in an instant, when you have fires that completely wipe everything away, and you look up and you don't have a home, that is a massive quantum leap. You could relate to it as a negative occurrence, but it's a total clearing. It's the 0 point. And what we're witnessing on the collective level is the 0 point manifesting, which is the new beginning.
But it's painful.
It
It's
is.
painful. It's painful to go through this. But like anything else, it's the growing pains, it's the labor pains, it's all those pains that we're going through as humanity at this moment, right?
Source is saying pain is an extension of attachment. So as all of these systems fade and they dismantle, you're being mirrored your own attachment to them. If you have an attachment to them, it will be more uncomfortable for you to release that reality. Also, where many of us can feel sadness or grief is we've forgotten that the souls involved in these occurrences are also choosing to be connected to these different experiences. So the the theme that's coming through here is if we think about things that are happening in the Middle East with wars and we go, well, that's so sad for them. And while it is, their soul has chosen to incarnate in that specific geographical location for reasons beyond what you could know. It could be
Karma.
they were in that region in a previous parallel life and they need to experience the karma of something that they've actually done that has impacted that land. And it doesn't mean that we become desensitized and detached from suffering in terms of how people are hurting, but it's that when we hold the higher perspective, we actually open up the timeline to shift and allow the solution to be downloaded for humanity. So if you entertain the problem and you go, that's so sad and that's so painful and that's so horrible, you fuel the timeline where it keeps happening. If you go, that is painful. However, I understand that this is expansion in disguise and that all of the souls have chosen this on some level, and you send love and you project light, you shift into the parallel version of Earth where solutions are more dominant than problems.
What's fascinating is as you're talking about this, when you keep saying game, I was like, when you say it's expanding and we want to play a bigger game, I'm like, oh, you just bought an expansion pack. Because basically humanity is buying an expansion pack for this reality essentially. So now there's new worlds and
Upgrade.
new characters. Yeah, they're up. There's new worlds. There's new characters. All the new technology, new tools,
Yes.
new weapons. All that kind of stuff that you do with video games. So you can do more within
Mm,
the original game. But this is an
yes.
expansion pack, so you're expanding the reality and the ability to do things essentially,
You've
right?
upgraded your subscription.
To get more stuff, essentially. And we've
To
chosen to do
have
that.
more stimulating experiences. You see, the soul wants to expand, wants to experience the next best idea that it can fathom. And if we stay limited in lower density realities, we can't do the real fun stuff I'm hearing, which is better technology, more harmonious relationships.
It's
If we
fun.
stay in lower density, it's just about survival.
So I was watching a show. It's on right now. 1923, the prequel to Yellowstone, and it's all takes place in 1923. And I'm looking at that reality, and as you're talking, the thing that's popping into my head is like, oh, I mean, you watch that show, you're just like, geez, my God, it's just all about survival. Like it's survival all the time. And there's wolves and there's people who want to steal your land. And it's just like people shooting people left. I'm like, it was a literally the wild, wild west. And that's towards the tail end of the wild, wild west. But it was just all about survival. And I was thinking like, well, if my soul would go into that existence right now,
Mhm.
it's so limiting. I could really only go
Mhm.
so far because the technology wasn't available. Like, you could only do so much. Where
Mhm.
now, even from when I was born to where we are now, it has expanded infinitely when the internet showed up. I'm older than you, so I was there when before the scary days before the internet. I was there before the scary days of cable, for God's sakes. Um, but it's just everything since the internet showed up and now AI, everything is speeding up. The technology is speeding up so much. I was walking down downtown Austin the other day, and there's a car driving by itself, picking people up and dropping them off. And I'm like, I don't want that reality. I can't. That's not a.
I
I
can't
can't.
hold it yet. I cannot hold that yet. I can't
I
hold
can't.
it.
I can't hold that reality. I know that the Uber driver could possibly be a worse driver than that thing, but I still want a human. in
hmm
the car. That's my
That's the
reality.
attachment, right? That's the
Yep.
attachment we were talking about that all of us
Yep.
are being triggered with. Like, there are things that I see and I go, oof, I'm not ready for that yet. Because we're so comfortable with how things have been. So each of us is going to have to face our own attachments and settle into, expand into our own new character within the game. So I know we spoke about these other background characters, other people, but you as a character, you have to also upgrade to go to that next level. And that's where the inner work comes in and all of those types of things.
So that's when, when you're doing the inner work, when you're doing the shadow work, when you're watching podcasts like this, reading books, taking courses, educating yourself, experiencing, going to events with other like-minded people, those are all upgrade. You're
hmm
grabbing the gold coins as Mario would be. You're grabbing the gold coins
hmm hmm
and building
hmm
yourself up, getting yourself stronger and
hmm
raising your vibration, your frequency to literally change the
hmm hmm
world in your entire game, as long as if you do the shadow work. You release these old preconceived notions, these old stories that were holding you back of lack and other things like that. Um, and you decide consciously to shift into a new timeline. Does that all make sense?
And understand, we'll expand on what you said beautifully, and understand that you can choose the parallel version of Earth that is the highest and the best. So, what most people do as they're relating to this expansion is they say, well, let's use AI for an example. Well, AI could be something that potentially takes us over in this and this and this. Okay, every time you do that, dear ones, you activate that reality in the field. What if you relate it to it differently as the creator? You project a different meaning onto it because reality has no meaning alone. So you project the meaning that you desire to experience and you go, AI is beautiful. It's wonderful. It's going to help us do so many amazing things. And
Mhm.
you minimize or dissolve the fear. So, we would like to speak to you about something that we are calling the triple trinity DNA helix. This is the DNA strand that's being activated, fully activated for your light body to upgrade. Why are these two things important? Because it allows you to hold a higher frequency of consciousness and it recalibrates the nervous system. The collective psyche and nervous system, as it stands now, is attuned to the fear matrix. So, this is why, even when expansion is in front of you as a collective, you automatically relate to the negative version of reality. You relate to the worst possible case scenario as it pertains to that theme, as opposed to the best possible case scenario. When the triple trinity DNA is activated, the diamond light body is activated, and you can hold supreme consciousness. You understand that you're an omnidimensional being and you choose where you go in the field. Fear does not exist because you know that you just decide. I want to go there. I want to go to the timeline and the parallel version of Earth where, as a collective, we're experiencing benevolent technology and AI. That's how the technology works.
It's so beautiful what you're saying, because it's kind of like the upgrading of the DNA is, when you said nervous system, it really caught my eye, because we've spoken about this before as well, is when you started the channel, your nervous system needed to be upgraded. You
Yes.
slowly had to ramp up the nervous system to a place where you can handle the frequency. If not, you could
Yes.
literally get fried. You
And I did.
people have.
I could only hold a channel, especially a trance channel, for an hour, and I would just be completely exhausted. And now I could go for hours. I could go on and on and on.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And you feel energized
And
afterwards,
I
even,
feel
I
I have
hear.
more energy. Yes, it energizes me.
But it took a minute to get there. So when people are watching this, it takes a minute. I'm sorry, I have to say hello to the
This is
kitty.
my
And
cat Simba. I guess
I
he wants
love
the world to see him. Hello.
Simba is very similar to my Nico.
Oh my goodness.
They're absolutely loving but a-holes. Um, any cat lover out there
Stealing the
understands it.
spotlight. He wants to steal the
Feeling the
spotlight. He wants to be
spotlight,
seen.
absolutely. So as we are continuously, so people who are doing the work and people who are watching this, they're constantly recalibrating their system and growing that frequency, allowing them to be able to hold the energy that we're
Mhm.
talking about. That's also
Mhm.
part of meditation. As you meditate, the more you meditate, the more things start to open up. The things start to, you're upgrading yourself. Every time you meditate, in my opinion, you're upgrading yourself. You're constantly upgrading
Yes.
yourself,
Yes.
constantly moving and
Yes.
constantly getting to a certain point where you can't hold consciousness. You can't hold
Mhm.
a source within you. And then when you get
Mhm.
to a master level, that's when you become a walking master, or and then eventually an ascended master who can hold that source and literally vibrate it out to the world in that way. Does that all make sense?
Yes, and the meditation, what's happening is as you're slowing down thoughts, because thoughts are frequencies, and we think 10,000 plus thoughts per day, and most of them are not necessarily positive. When we slow down the momentum of the thought, our vibration naturally increases. And as the vibration increases, we attune our DNA, our cells, our entire nervous system to hold more light. And then the more we do that, that just becomes the new energetic standard. That just becomes um it's it's sort of
Baseline,
like
the new baseline.
it's the new baseline, and it just neutralizes whatever momentum we've had going on. So for most people, they just have a negative momentum going on. So all the cells, the receptors in the cells open and receive that imprint. Now, the DNA is very interesting because it also contains the genetic sequence of our ancestry. And that's why when we engage in quantum healing meditation, we also neutralize the vibrational imprint of our entire bloodline.
Okay, let's go into that for a second
Yes.
because that's a whole other conversation. We've
Yes.
spoken about ancestral trauma
Mm,
and also ancestral karma that you choose to be born into a line, a
yes.
family line, a bloodline, because that bloodline is going to give you the experiences you want. So if you
Mm,
want to
mhm, mhm.
experience addiction in this timeline and this bloodline has a history of addiction, and you want to break that for the timeline, or you want to experience it and overcome it in this lifetime,
Mhm,
that's why
mhm.
you would choose that bloodline or that family line. And hopefully you
Right.
can stop it and clear it for people who, the souls who've come
Yes.
past, and clear it
Yes.
for all the new ones coming in. Does that all make sense?
And that's exactly what the starseeds and the light workers are doing and the indigos are doing right now, which is neutralizing the vibration of their bloodline. So the DNA can become viable for ascension once more. Ascension meaning holding the highest frequency of consciousness.
Essentially, that's it. It's you're there.
Now, yes. Now the difficulty with this, so Source is going a little bit, just wants to talk about lower vibrations. With bloodlines, there can be entity attachments that also keep people in thought loops and certain patterns, which makes it difficult for them to step into the new thinking pattern. So really quickly, Source is just recommending this. We've been recommending this for the last month. Doing a bloodline release letter, meaning you write a letter about everything that's come with your bloodline and the genetics that you've inherited, maybe lack of money, issues with relationships, whatever it may be. You get all your feelings and emotions out. By the end of the letter, you just say, "Thank you to my ancestors. I am now choosing to step into a new frame of light." And you have to burn this letter representing the energetic transmutation. So, a bloodline release letter, because we do have lower vibrational entities that can attach to bloodlines. And as soon as you're born, actually follow you and deter you from stepping fully into the light. I hope that makes sense.
So can we dive into what this holographic game that we're in is all about? Because I mean, I've spoken about this film in nauseam on this show, The Matrix, one of my favorite films of all time. But it was such a beautiful depiction of what is truly happening, not in the way of a giant computer doing it, but
Mhm,
Source doing it, and
mhm.
on a much grander scale than 1999, the 1999 world of The Matrix. It's the universe is in this
Yes.
game, and we
Yes.
just happen to just be playing on the Earth. So, can you kind of explain the concept of the holographic nature in the sense of simulation. It's a basically simulation theory, is what this is going to
Yes.
be.
A holograph is simply light. So light bounces off of your eye, and then your brain organizes the information into pixels, and thus you get a picture. Nonetheless, it's all just light and energy vibrating in different frequencies. So while the matrix, the dimension of the matrix that we are experiencing feels really dense, really physical, really solid, really real, it's just a lower vibrating frequency of matter. And so when you see holographic consciousness in this way, you understand that you are simply consciousness experiencing and interacting with itself infinitely. So not only are you perceiving the light, but you are the light itself. You are the consciousness behind the game. You are the game. You are the consciousness of the game. You are the character within the game. You are also all of the other characters in the game. That would be your highest self, which is source, the frequency that source exists in. Now, when it comes to the holographic matrix, we would like to explain this concept of infinite matrices. And a matrix is simply a game that you plug into. So let's use an intergalactic civilization for an example. They're experiencing their own matrix within the infinite matrix, holographic matrix of reality. So there's an Earth matrix, but even within the Earth matrix, as we explained with the cosmic casino or the casino of consciousness, there are infinite matrices within that. So it's infinite. That's the best word. It's infinite. It's omni. It's the omnidimensional field.
So basically, even if you're playing a massive game like a Warcraft or something like that, and you're having a fight or a conversation inside of a pub, well, that's a reality built in within the larger reality. And it's
Yes.
very specific to you.
Yes.
Closed off from the rest of the matrix. You're living in that little world, almost a little bubble in that thing, and that
Hmm.
could go to a village,
Hmm.
then goes into a city, that can go into a country, and so on. So all of us
Hmm.
are doing that every day. We live in countries, and when you travel is the
That's a
only time
bubble.
you
That's a matrix.
exactly. So like in the U.S., we live in a very special matrix, a very exciting
Yes.
matrix, very exciting telenovela matrix that we're in. And then you fly into another country. Let's say you go to Germany or France, and you're in Paris and you're eating baguettes and drinking a coffee while you're right in front of the Eiffel Tower or something like that. Well, that's another complete,
Collective reality that
yeah.
souls are plugged into. So, how I want to ground this for folks in terms of how they can shift their own matrix is understand that you're plugged into all of these different themes, and you can decide to unplug yourself and plug into a different theme. If you're plugged into a theme of lack on some level, or I keep attracting the wrong partners and I can't find my soulmate, you're plugged into the game where that's a theme and you're choosing to experience that. But you can unplug yourself and you choose to plug into the matrix where it's so easy to find my soulmate. I could go bump into them today
Hmm.
because you decide that that is true. You place that meaning and that possibility on your reality.
So when you're traveling, essentially, you're plugging yourself into different realities,
Infinitely, we do this every day.
right? In different
Plug,
areas.
unplug, plug. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's so you drive to the other side of town. Well, that's another reality over there.
Source is giving me, we're using the symbology of a plug because what happens when you plug something into a socket, it's energized. So when you plug into a specific reality, you energize that reality. You are contributing to the collective energy needed to make that reality an existence, or to make that reality activated, like we spoke about earlier, that there are infinite timelines, but enough souls would need to energize the timeline for it to be activated.
So that is why old media is kind of crumbling, old Hollywood, old news, all that stuff,
People are
because
unplugging.
people are unplugging and choosing to find shows like this, which
Yes.
is lifting the consciousness, and because that's what they're attracted to now. And that's
Yes.
going to start to rev up even more and more as the months and years go by, correct?
Yes, and that's such a phenomenal example because we want to go back to what you mentioned about fear.
Mhm.
Many feeling fear about the split, fear about how is New Earth going to materialize. Dear ones, it's already happening right now. You're tuning into this show as opposed to maybe 5 years ago you would have been watching some reality TV show, but you're watching this. It's a gradual evolution, but not in the way that people are thinking. It can be gentle if you choose for it to be gentle. It can even be fun. It can be exciting. It can unfold in a way that is compatible with your energy field. And this is really what we prefer. We would not like you to go through pain and suffering because you don't have to. We are neutral in a sense that we are not attached to what you choose, but we hold the understanding and the supreme knowing that it does not have to be a bumpy ride.
So beautifully said, because so many people are so fearful about what's happening. And it's the number one thing we get asked about. It's like, why is this happening? What's going on? How can I, I was talking to somebody the other day and I was like, yeah, I've spoken to a lot of channelers and psychic mediums and things like that. And they're like, what's the number one thing they say? I'm like, oh, well, the economy is going to shift
Mm,
in a
mm,
big, big way. And they're like,
mm,
okay, what do I
mm.
do? What do I do? Where do I put my money? I'm like, I don't know, Bitcoin, I don't know, gold, buy, bullets and rice. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. But that was their first initial instant, was to go to fear, as opposed to, oh, okay, well, how are we going to play with this? So what do you have? I see that you're in thought, so go for it.
We will gently suggest that all of you have some sort of cash reserve. This is not to create fear. However, if all of your power systems, let's just say, went out for whatever reason, how would you pay for things? Again, this is not to create fear. This is just a very real scenario that could play out. When it comes to being prepared for themes or situations that maybe your ego would relate to negatively, understand that when you're in alignment with us, meaning every day you're in joy, you understand the true nature of abundance, you're in empowered, you are vibrating in sovereignty, you will be a vibrational match to the frequency needed to receive the solution even before you're consciously aware of the problem. How we would like you all to start relating to this is I will know what I need to know when I need to know it, not preparing for negative situations in a way that it lowers your vibration, but if you tune into this episode and we just gave you a suggestion to have a cash reserve, that's an example of I will know what I need to know when I need to know it. You will be protected. You will be supported. You will be provided for because you're already in divine harmonious relationship with all that is. And that is the highest form of preparation. The highest form of preparation is that you are in alignment and in the frequency where the solution comes. We just want to say it one more time. The solution will download and come to you even before you're consciously aware of a problem. So many of you have already experienced this. You arrive somewhere shortly after maybe chaos or something happened. It's because you were in alignment.
Mm.
That's how the technology works.
So can you explain to people how they can upgrade their reality? What are practical steps that they can do to upgrade the reality that they're
Mm.
living in, the game that they're playing?
First step would be to no longer relate to your current reality as a negative occurrence. You do not escape something or get away from something by relating to it negatively. You actually just will continue to carry that vibration into your next frame or slot within existence. You change the frequency of where you are now. We'll give you this tool of neutrality, which is this is not good, this is not bad. It simply is a mirror and it's showing me my vibration, and I get to see this as expansion. If something negative occurs right here in this moment, and you go, oh, deeper insight into where I've been vibrating, this is positive feedback, and you use it, then you will shift. Many of you focus on a massive quantum leap and shift, but you could actually get further if you focus on small incremental shifts, small steps every single day. And this is how you know what you're doing with your energy. Am I in a frequency of receiving? Meaning I'm allowing solutions, I'm allowing answers, I'm allowing the next best step to come into my consciousness. Or am I repelling? I'm rejecting, I'm resisting, meaning I'm focused on the worst possible outcome. You start doing that every single day, asking yourself and becoming more aware of what frequency you're in, you will begin to incrementally shift. You look up in 3 months, life is different. You look up in 6 months, life is different. This would be a better way for most people to upgrade their reality incrementally through choices and awareness of what they're entertaining.
Unlike winning the lottery. That's not a
Now,
that is, yes, go ahead.
let's say you want to win the lottery.
Yeah.
Understand that if you're relating to that concept through a frequency of lack, meaning because a lot of people do this, so we want to talk about it. I really want to win the lottery because my life sucks. The dominant
Mhm.
vibration is my life sucks. So maybe somehow you find a way to get yourself in the receptive mode and that you shift into that reality. But then what plays out? Themes and scenarios where you eventually lose the money. If you relate to it through abundance, which is it would be amazing to expand the abundance that I already have. It would be amazing to play with more abundance. Now we're getting into the vibration of luck, which is really just quantum alignment. So, what you'll notice, people who gamble, you have folks who the more money they make, the more money they're just going to make. They always win when they go to the casino or gamble or these types of things because it's fun. It's playful. They're not actually attached to if they win the money or not. It's they like the game of it. So for those who are wanting to win the lottery, also understand that this is soul contractual. Your higher self might not allow you, and that is a such thing, allow you to have that experience if you would bypass the lessons and the themes pertaining to lack that you would need to undergo.
So when people are waking up inside of the matrix, how can someone recognize that they're awakening within this game that we're playing?
Usually it's chaos. And the
Interesting.
chaos is happening because it's like an alarm clock where reality is trying to get your attention. And also, the more you awaken, you do have these lower vibrations who go, oh no, you're getting ready to escape. You're not going to be feeding our timeline where we have power anymore. You're not going to be feeding our fear matrix where we have power anymore. And so, because your vibration is not yet fully anchored in the fifth dimensional and above, you get a little bit of both, right? It's like something positive happens, but then it's like you get knocked back 3 steps, or, oh, I just stubbed my toe, or I lost my phone and this happened. And most people experience this when they start waking up. They're like, I'm listening to Alex's podcast every single day. I listen to thousands of channelings. Why haven't I fully made the shift? Why am I still getting some of these other things? Your vibration isn't fully anchored yet. So we want you to respond to the chaos lovingly, kindly, understanding that one, it's getting your attention and it's triggering you into deeper mastery because every time something happens, but your reaction is now different, it signals to the universe that you truly have changed and you really are this parallel future self that's sustained in that higher frequency. So we can't manipulate the universe. It's an infinite frequency scanner and it just scans your frequency and it just knows what vibration you're truly in.
And what practices can we do to help align ourselves with the highest timeline of humanity? Because humanity is choosing as a collective to shift because they want the expansion pack, they want to play, they want to grow.
The expansion pack. I love that. We want to give you all the quickest way to collapse time, instantaneously shift. It happens through the heart, not the mind. You are not going to think yourself into a different timeline, a different reality, better scenarios, which you would perceive to be better scenarios. You are going to feel your way into them. The quickest way that you collapse time is through love because your highest timeline feels like love. We want you to start with loving yourself, however. This is what most of you struggle with. I love me as I am. I love me with the exact amount of money that I have in the bank right now. I love me at this particular weight. I love me in this particular job, even if I feel like I don't have this certain title or recognition. I love me as this version of me that's doing spiritual work and uplifting the masses, even if I feel like I don't have enough views yet or I haven't been fully acknowledged yet. Loving yourself unconditionally is the quickest way to collapse time because get this, you merge with us in the way that we feel about you, which teleports you into the highest timeline where you are in constant contact with us, meaning you're receiving downloads, information, inspiration, the next best idea, the next thing you need. And you're also receiving physical forms of abundance as well. But it begins with loving the self.
Source is a good writer. They're very
Yes,
eloquent. Source is
yes,
very eloquent,
yes.
and profound, surprisingly very profound.
Yes.
One other question I want to ask you is how do past lives play a part in this current shift that we're going through in our life right now on a individual and on a collective?
Relevant past lives have to do with a soul correction. So you would not come into remembrance of a past slash parallel life unless there is either a karmic imprint that's come into this incarnation or aspects of that self that are relevant to what's happening here. So all past lives are not relevant for this incarnation, meaning for you to know about them. You will only they will only reveal themselves, and this could be through working with a practitioner of some sort or through a dream or your own recall, but they only show up because there's information that you need, meaning maybe there's an aspect of leadership or a quality or an attribute that you need to integrate to embody the mission that you're here to carry out, or there's a subconscious fear or blockage or something of the sort that's creating a delay in the mission that you're here to that's here to unfold. We would not like you all to relate to past lives through giving your power away to them. They're simply
Mhm.
tools that you can use to understand yourself better. What's more important is who are you now? Who are you now? Who are you now? Who are you being now? If one of those selves is impacting who you are being now, that is the way that you use them to shift your identity, shift yourself.
I can keep talking to you for another hour or two, Erin. I really do adore Source, oddly enough.
Me too, right?
Source is pretty cool, I have to say. Pretty cool dude or chick, however you'd like to say it.
Both, both.
Both, and all in one. I'm going to ask you a few questions. I ask all my guests. Oh, and before I ask those questions, does Source have any parting message for the audience that's watching this now and that will be watching this in the years to come?
Interestingly, they're taking me to the pyramids in Egypt.
Hmm.
And this is going to continue to be a major topic of discussion and theme for your collective at this time because some of your past selves have left behind these structures and technologies to get your attention, specifically the Anunnaki
Hmm.
built the pyramids. And what you will soon be uncovering is that they serve as landing pads and charging stations. Fibonacci mathematics was used for the creation of the pyramids for regenerative energy purposes. So we just want to share that with you because it's going to be a continual topic of conversation.
As we move forward, pyramids are going to keep
Yes.
coming in.
Yes. The pyramids are going to keep coming in, and yeah, they're just saying there's much to be uncovered. That's what they want to share right now. What they actually are and what they were used for.
All right, perfect. Now I'm going to ask you a few questions. I ask all my guests. What is your definition of living a fulfilled life?
For me, living a fulfilling life is co-creating with others in harmony. If I were here by myself, it wouldn't have much meaning. It wouldn't be as fun. So being able to co-create with friends, co-create with my husband and my child and business partners, that's really the fun of the game, is to co-create the highest joint reality and timeline that me and my other whoever comes into my personal game that we can fathom and that we can hold, and together we keep quantum jumping into the best version of reality. That's fun and exciting for me.
If you had a chance to go back in time and speak to little Erin, what advice would you give her?
Being different is a gift. Although you don't understand who you are now, you will uplift so many souls and awaken so many to the true nature of reality, which is unconditional love. Embrace your uniqueness.
How do you define God or source?
Love. God's source is unconditional love. And unconditional love for me is the acceptance of every version and variation within this play of existence that we as a collective soul decide is relevant to experience.
What is love?
Love is the only real truth. Love is a state of being. Love is the highest point in consciousness that we can reach. It is the acceptance of oneself as the all. No matter high vibrational or low vibrational, it is the total acceptance that I am everything and everything is me. And because that is the truth, it is validated within existence and creation itself.
Now, this next question is going to be very interesting for you because I know you can actually do this. If you could ask Source one question, what would it be?
I'm laughing because I ask them so many things and they say they
Exactly.
will actually tell me you're not ready to know that yet, or you can't
Oh,
hold that
yeah.
information yet. Source, what would I ask you? What would I ask you? I would ask Source what my son is here to
To do.
do for the planet. I've gotten some glimpses and I get the idea that he has a pretty huge role to play, but I would ask for some more specifics.
Which they will not give you until you're ready to hold that information.
Correct. They said in due time. As I was at, they were
And,
saying in due time, at the right time, you'll know more.
and what is the ultimate purpose of life?
The ultimate purpose of life is to just live it. That's all we're doing eternally is experiencing existence. Live it. You really have nothing else to do as a soul. Enjoy it. The ups, the downs, the drama, the chaos. Even if you begin to shift your relationship to the chaos, you can even have fun with that. And then it doesn't hold the same fear-based weight over you. Just enjoy it.
And where can people find out more about you and the amazing work you're doing in the world?
Erin Lyons TV on YouTube and www.erinlyonsofficial.com.
And do you have any parting messages for the audience?
My deepest desire for anyone listening to this is that you begin to enter an unconditional relationship with yourself where it does not matter how much money is in the bank. It does not matter how successful you perceive yourself to be. Those conditions no longer matter. You love you beyond labels, beyond the avatar, beyond concepts and ideas of achievement, that you begin to experience the beauty, the magnificence, the genius of your soul truly, because that is who you really are.
Erin, it is such a pleasure having you back on the show. I look forward to our next conversation when you're here in Austin to do
Yes.
one in person. I cannot wait for that. I appreciate you and everything you're doing to awaken this planet, my dear. So thank you again so, so much.
Thank you. And I appreciate you and all of your work as well.
Thanks for watching. Click on one of the videos below to continue your journey, and don't forget to subscribe.